GM just detonated a bombshell in the truck world with the official reveal of the 2026 Silverado, and the entire industry is scrambling because the price tag is something nobody saw coming: $50,000. In a market where every new truck is creeping toward luxury SUV pricing, GM just pulled a move that feels like a direct challenge to Ford, Ram, Toyota, everyone. And the crazy part is, they didn't just lower the price, they brought brand new features, new engineering upgrades, and a bold redesign that feels like GM is waking up after years of half steps and saying, yeah, we're back. What instantly grabs attention is the Silverado's fresh front fascia, sharper lines, tighter lighting signatures, and a stance that looks wider and angrier without being bloated. GM finally ditched the awkward details from the previous refresh and went for something that screams both premium and rugged. But the real jaw-dropper is what this truck packs under the skin. GM didn't go all electric, didn't go all hybrid, and didn't chase trends. Instead, they doubled down on powertrains that truck buyers actually want: improved V8 options, a boosted efficiency turbo inline 4 that's been reworked for reliability, and even a surprise hybrid setup that delivers better torque without turning the truck into a laptop on wheels. Then GM went even further. They equipped the 2026 Silverado with features that rival trucks charge thousands extra for. We're talking upgraded towing software with real-time load prediction, new adaptive dampers on mid-tier trims, a massively improved interior with materials that finally don't feel like recycled plastic bottles, and tech that feels futuristic without being overwhelming. And yet, somehow, all of this comes together at a starting price that undercuts the F-150, undercuts the Ram 1500, and even lands dangerously close to mid-sized truck territory. GM is basically telling the competition, match us if you can. But what really makes this reveal explosive is the timing. The truck market is cooling. Buyers are fed up with $70,000 to $90,000 price tags, and GM is betting big that affordability, real affordability, will bring customers flooding back to showrooms. And you can almost feel the panic ripple across the industry, because if GM can offer a brand new Silverado with this kind of equipment at a $50,000 starting price, suddenly the excuses from every other brand start looking thin. And the more you dig into the spec sheet, the more obvious it becomes that GM designed this truck to reclaim ground they've lost over the past decade, one feature and one price cut at a time. And what's even more interesting is how GM is positioning the Silverado's new hybrid system, not as some eco-badge marketing trick, but as a real tool for towing, hauling, and long-distance driving. They're emphasizing torque curves, charge-free daily use, and durability, almost as if they're trying to win back old-school truck owners who've been skeptical of electrification. And that move might just reshape the direction of the entire truck segment, because if GM proves hybrid trucks can be both powerful and affordable, Ford and Ram will have no choice but to respond. And as more details surface about the trim walk and optional packages, you start to notice how GM quietly restructured the entire Silverado lineup to make the $50,000 headline price even more shocking. Instead of giving buyers a bare-bones work truck and calling it a deal, GM is packing the 2026 Silverado's mid-tier trims with features that used to be locked behind premium badges. You're getting the new 12.3-inch digital cluster, the upgraded 13.4-inch infotainment center, and a cabin layout that finally feels like GM listened to years of customer complaints. The seats are redesigned with thicker bolsters, the dash materials actually look upscale, and GM even added more sound deadening so the truck feels quieter at highway speeds. It's the kind of interior you'd expect from a $65,000 truck, but GM is dropping it right into the heart of that $50,000 zone. And then there's the engineering. GM didn't just tweak the chassis, they rebalanced the suspension geometry, improved steering feel, and stiffened the frame without adding weight. The result? The truck feels planted, more confident, and way more dialed in on uneven roads. For the first time in years, the Silverado isn't just competitive, it's potentially class-leading in ride comfort. GM also added a new towing mode that uses AI-based algorithms to predict sway before it even happens, adjusting the brakes and dampers in real time. It sounds like marketing fluff until you realize how critical that is when pulling a 9,000-pound trailer through mountain roads. But maybe maybe the most underrated part of this truck is the design strategy behind its technology. GM deliberately avoided stuffing the Silverado with touch controls like some sci-fi gadget. They kept physical buttons for climate, drive modes, and trailering essentials. Truck fans have been begging for this balance, and somehow GM managed to blend modern screens with real-world usability better than anyone else in the segment right now. This alone could win over thousands of buyers who felt alienated by the tablet-only trend dominating pickups. And here's where things get even more interesting. GM added a new Value Max package that quietly includes premium towing mirrors, bed lighting, a spray-in liner, and the upgraded trailering suite, but it barely bumps the price over that $50,000 mark. It's almost like GM is daring Ford and Ram to try and match that equipment list without blowing up their own pricing structures. And the shockwaves from that move are already being felt in dealer circles. Some insiders are saying Ford is scrambling to adjust F-150 pricing for 2026, while Ram dealers are worried their new generation 1500 will suddenly look overpriced the moment the Silverado hits the lot. And this is only the beginning, because as soon as you look at the powertrain upgrade pricing, you realize GM is playing a completely different game this time. The upgrade to the hybrid setup, something competitors usually mark up like a luxury feature, is priced so aggressively that it almost feels like GM wants buyers to default to it. Instead of a $5,000 or $7,000 jump, which is the industry norm, GM is reportedly keeping the hybrid upgrade within striking distance of the base V8. That alone is enough to pull thousands of undecided buyers straight into GM showrooms, especially when fuel savings, torque gain, and towing stability all stack in favor of the hybrid system. And speaking of towing, GM made a strategic move by reworking the Silverado's cooling system for better sustained load performance. They redesigned the airflow routing, added a larger secondary radiator, and retuned the fan system so the truck can maintain power longer without heat soaking. This is something Silverado owners have asked for repeatedly, and GM finally delivered. Pair that with the new torque-rich hybrid, and suddenly the Silverado becomes a real workhorse again instead of just a lifestyle truck for suburban owners. The bed hasn't been ignored either. GM added a new multi-stage tie-down system with adjustable rails, stronger corner reinforcements, and new under-rail LED lighting that actually illuminates the entire cargo area. They even added a ruggedized coating under the bed floor for extra impact resistance. It's subtle, but it speaks to GM's strategy. Practical upgrades that deliver real value instead of gimmicks. And then there's the tech nobody saw coming. GM is introducing a new predictive driver assist suite that blends the Silverado's sensors, GPS data, and real-time environment modeling to help manage weight shifts while cornering or braking with heavy loads. It's not a self-driving system, and GM is being very clear about that. This is a tool built for truck owners, not a toy. It's designed to keep trailers stable, alert drivers before unsafe maneuvers, and smooth out aggressive load transitions that normally stress the truck's suspension. What really flips the script is that GM isn't bragging about any single feature like it's a magic bullet. Instead, they're pushing the narrative that the 2026 Silverado is about balance. Power where it matters, tech that doesn't overwhelm, comfort without luxury pricing, and capability without ridiculous markups. It feels like someone at GM finally stepped back, looked at the truck market honestly, and built something for the people who actually buy these rigs. And once you start looking at the upper trims and how GM has reshuffled the options, you start to see GM's bigger strategy unfold. Instead of bloating the high country and LTZ trims with unnecessary luxury fluff, GM streamlined the features to focus on what truck buyers actually value. The top trims now lean harder into capability, enhanced tow ratings, reinforced suspension components, upgraded brake packages, while still giving you that premium feel with leather upholstery, ambient lighting, and a cleaner, more modern dash layout. The difference is that GM cut out the overpriced nonsense like massaging seats and gimmicky chrome packages that nobody asked for, keeping the cost structure lean and the value shockingly high. And the moment you move into the ZR2 territory, things get even more serious. GM took the off-road package and dialed it in with new terrain-focused drive modes, recalibrated Multimatic DSSV dampers, and a stronger front skid system that can take real punishment. They widened the track slightly for better footing on rough terrain and dropped in a new off-road torque management system that automatically adjusts throttle response based on traction levels. The result? The ZR2 feels like a purpose-built machine rather than a cosmetic off-road trim trying to compete with the Raptor and TRX. specs. GM isn't trying to outmuscle those trucks. They're outsmarting them with engineering. But the biggest twist is how the Silverado's packages are now structured to prevent option overload. GM has collapsed dozens of configurations into a cleaner, more logical system. You pick a trim, pick a powertrain, and choose from a handful of focus packages that bundle real-world features together. No more hunting through confusing lists, no more forced options, no more paying an extra $1,000 just to unlock a tow hitch. This simplicity doesn't just make life easier for buyers, it makes production cheaper for GM, and that's exactly how they're squeezing the starting price down to that unbelievable $50,000 mark. Then you look at the materials GM chose this time around. Instead of layering the interior with shiny plastics, they switched to matte textures, rubberized surfaces in high wear zones, and metal-like finishes on key touch points. Even the steering wheel has a thicker rim and more ergonomic controls. It feels like a truck built to take abuse but still offer a premium experience. It's honest, functional, and surprisingly refined. And all of this, the design, the engineering, the tech, the value, comes at a moment when the entire truck market is shifting under our feet. Buyers are frustrated, budgets are tightening, and competitors are desperately trying to justify price tags that seem ridiculous in 2026's economic climate. GM saw the opening, stepped through it, and dropped the 2026 Silverado like a strategic strike. And as the first real-world test drives begin rolling out, the early reactions are exactly what GM was hoping for. Reviewers are coming back shocked at how composed the Silverado feels on the road, especially with the hybrid setup. They're reporting smoother acceleration, quieter cruising, and a level of chassis control that feels more refined than anything GM has put out in years. One tester even said the truck drives like it lost 500 pounds, even though the actual weight barely changed. That's the difference proper tuning makes, and GM is leaning hard into that narrative. Owners who've spent decades with older Silverados are noticing something different too. The truck finally feels cohesive. No more mismatched trim pieces, no more weird rattles from the dash, no more tech that feels bolted on at the last minute. Instead, the 2026 model delivers a unified experience where every part of the truck feels like it was developed together. In separate departments that never talk to each other. It's the kind of polish that makes people consider trading in early or switching brands for the first time. But what's really fueling the hype is the pricing shockwave. People can't wrap their heads around the fact that the Silverado undercuts its rivals so aggressively without stripping out essential features. Forums are filled with comments like, "How is GM making money on this?" and "Ford and Ram better wake up." And honestly, they're right. GM is taking slim margins now to win back market share later. It's a move that's bold, risky, and honestly kind of genius. Dealers are already preparing for chaos, pre-orders are climbing, deposits are stacking up, and some regions are even expecting shortages on the hybrid models because demand is higher than anticipated. Fleet buyers are lining up too, because with this pricing, the Silverado suddenly becomes a cost-effective workhorse again. And GM is smart. They're prioritizing fleet production early on to rebuild the Silverado's dominance in commercial markets. And things get even more intense when you look at the optional tech that GM has hidden behind the mid-tier trims. There's a new augmented towing camera system that stitches together multiple angles in real time, giving you a near 360-degree trailer view. There's a power management interface that lets you control bed outlets, charge tools, or even run lightweight equipment off the truck. There's the updated Super Cruise that's more towing friendly and less restrictive than before. All of this adds real value, especially for owners who actually use their trucks. But here's where it gets truly interesting. GM hasn't even revealed the final MPG numbers for the hybrid Silverado yet, and insiders are hinting that the results might be strong enough to shake up the entire segment. Because if GM can deliver significantly better fuel economy and offer the truck for $50K, then things are about to get very uncomfortable for the competition. And as we wait for those numbers to drop, more leaked details are starting to surface about the production timeline. Early trim allocations, and even a rumored special edition package that might take the Silverado hype to a completely new level. Word on the street is that GM is planning a limited Trail Boss Max edition, combining the hybrid powertrain with off-road suspension tweaks, exclusive badging, and special interior finishes. Imagine getting hybrid efficiency, full ZR2 off-road capability, and a bold, head-turning design all in one package. If these rumors hold true, it could redefine what buyers expect expect from a half-ton truck and force competitors to rethink how they price their top trims. And let's not overlook GM's clever marketing play here. By announcing a $50,000 starting price, they created a viral moment before most people even saw the truck in person. Social media is buzzing, and dealerships are fielding calls from curious buyers who want in early. That's a level of anticipation GM hasn't achieved in years, and it's exactly the kind of momentum that can drive strong initial sales and long-term brand loyalty. Even the warranty and service packages are being repositioned to make the Silverado feel like a smarter purchase. GM is reportedly offering extended coverage options that cover hybrid components without the usual surcharge, plus more flexible maintenance schedules. That's a subtle but powerful message. This isn't just a truck you can afford up front. It's a truck that keeps its value and reliability over time. And the more you study the 2026 Silverado, the more you realize GM is thinking about the entire life cycle of ownership. They've clearly analyzed competitor weaknesses and consumer frustrations, from overpriced options to complicated trim structures, and rebuilt their approach from the ground up. Every choice, from chassis tuning to tech integration, screams practicality, intelligence, and value. It's as if GM asked themselves, what would make someone actually excited to buy a Silverado today? And then delivered it. But here's the kicker. Despite all the excitement and new features, GM isn't overselling. They're letting the truck speak for itself through performance, usability, and most importantly, price. That $50,000 entry point isn't a gimmick. It's a statement that GM believes they can win back the market without resorting to hype or smoke and mirrors. And as soon as the first deliveries hit streets and test drives begin generating real-world feedback, the story will only get bigger. Early impressions suggest that drivers are falling in love with the Silverado's combination of power, comfort, and tech. Longtime GM fans are thrilled to see that the truck still feels like a true workhorse, while new buyers are drawn in by the sleek design and surprisingly modern interior. The feedback from commercial fleet managers is equally compelling. They're impressed that GM managed to pack real capability into a price point that makes adding multiple units to a fleet much more feasible. And then there's the resale angle. With the market shifting and trucks traditionally holding value better than cars, the 2026 Silverado could become one of the few pickups that actually retains its worth and offers modern hybrid efficiency. This could attract buyers who might otherwise have hesitated, thinking they'd be paying for a new truck that depreciates too quickly. GM is playing the long game here, creating a truck that's not just competitive today, but smarter to own over the next decade. Meanwhile, the competitive pressure is mounting. Ford and Ram have been dominating headlines with their top-tier trims, but none of them can touch the combination of price and value GM is offering with the 2026 Silverado. Analysts are already predicting that the first 6 months of sales could see a shift in market share, with GM clawing back ground it lost over the past 5 years. And because the Silverado is available in multiple trims with multiple powertrains, it appeals to both everyday buyers and hardcore truck enthusiasts, giving GM a versatility advantage that is hard to beat. But the real story might be what GM does next. With a base price this aggressive, they have the ability to strategically release special editions, limited run off-roaders, and technology packages without alienating the core customer base. It's a smart, calculated approach that signals GM isn't just reacting, they're shaping the future of the pickup segment. And as we start seeing more details about dealer allocation, regional availability, and the first real-world towing tests, it's clear that GM is setting the stage for a full-scale shakeup in the truck market. Dealers are already bracing for high demand, especially in regions where trucks are not just a lifestyle choice, but a necessity for work and recreation. Early reports suggest that some dealerships are preparing to implement reservation systems just to manage the influx of buyers. And in some areas, the hybrid models are expected to sell out faster than the base trims. This kind of buzz hasn't been seen around a Silverado launch in years, and it signals that GM may have finally found the right mix of price, performance, and practicality. Meanwhile, the industry is watching closely. Ford, Ram, and even Toyota are now forced to reassess their pricing strategies, package structures, and even engineering choices. GM has effectively rewritten the rules, proving that you can offer cutting-edge tech, hybrid efficiency, real-world capability, and a premium-feeling interior without charging a fortune. That's a challenge no competitor can ignore. And as more customers start posting first-hand impressions online, from acceleration tests to off-road adventures, the narrative is only going to gain momentum, creating organic marketing that money can't buy. And it's not just about trucks. GM's bold pricing and strategic rollout send a message to the broader automotive world. value, intelligence, and listening to the customer can still disrupt markets, even in a segment dominated by legacy players. By starting at $50,000, GM isn't just selling a truck, they're reclaiming attention, loyalty, and credibility. This isn't incremental change. It's a statement that could influence design, pricing, and technology decisions across the entire pickup segment for years to come.